Okay, we are recording. Axel, how are you today?
I'm really good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Whereabouts are you today?
I'm in Reykjavik, Iceland, in
Oh,
my studio.
is this like a home studio?
It's like a studio complex with lots of different musicians are renting out studio rooms here. It's just my space here.
Wonderful. Okay, well, look, I'm going to kick off the playlist, and for the opening track, Axel, I always ask guests to tell me the song they regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm big on intros. At the moment, it's a song called "It's Not Living If It's Not With You" by the 1975. I love the intro to that song. It's like immediate joy. Yeah,
It's
that's the one I picked.
it's so weird because that's from what's the 1975 record that's from?
It's from the third one.
The third one, and
The yeah,
because that record for me, it was like there was so much hype in the UK around the 1975, and it kind of passed me by them first two records. And then
yeah,
somebody who I really rate reviewed that third record, and it was a really good sort of review. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give that a spin. I think it's a
yeah,
masterpiece, that third album.
yeah. Same,
Um,
same.
when it comes to creating and songwriting, Axel, I think that the way that young people are consuming music now is via streaming services, obviously, and we're seeing the impact of things such as TikTok being used to market music. Um, does and I think with so many of those things, it feels that like the intro is so key in getting somebody's
Yeah,
attention, hooking them in quickly. And I don't want to sound like some kind of record company guy that's that's stressing the importance of that. But it does feel like, certainly in more sort of commercial pop music as well, that to kind of get heard, that you've got to pull them in quick. Does any of that filter through into your creative process?
I mean, I love intros, and sometimes I only write intros just as like like a mood to get into the mood of an idea. I like to kind of like I had like a few years ago I had kind of a writing exercise where I just wrote a lot of intros and then I accompanied a song to the intro. But late like I think I've been quite it's quite funny with my songs because the most popular songs of mine have a really long intro and not really immediate, but I really like to write like maybe a little bit of suspension and then an intro coming in. I really like that idea. So I haven't really been super stuck to it like you have to kick in right away, but I really like the idea of it. And I think the 975 have played with that a lot very nicely. There are a few songs where the song like the vocals come in immediately as well, and like they really like to play with this idea of getting you in really quickly. But I think I'm more addicted to kind of the suspension, creating like a long little flow into something. But yeah, it's just a preference, I think.
Wonderful. Tell me the first song that you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please.
Yeah, that song, that's a song called Hear You Me by the band Jimmy Eat World. I was big into pop punk and emo when I was a teenager, and Jimmy Eat World is one of the bands that my brother and my sister got me into, and I was obsessed with Jimmy Eat World for years and years and years. And Hear You Me, I remember it was like the like a different thing because I mean it's obviously got like a slow ballady song has like all these different emotions in it, and I remember being like heartbroken at 13 listening to that song. And it was yeah, quite funny.
That's a great album as well. Like, such a great
Yeah,
album. And I think, like, of
yeah,
all the music that sort of come out then, I think that record still really holds up.
yeah, agreed,
Like,
agreed.
I
That
literally,
yeah,
I was DJing on Friday night at my club, and I played Happiness by Jimmy Eat World,
Yeah,
and it
nice.
still sounds
Yeah,
so cool for a big system.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree.
So
That's a
if
good
you had
song.
to, I mean, can you sort of paint me a little picture about a sort of younger you, and tell me a little bit about where you grew up, and was home a musical environment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I grew up in a like there's a lot of respect and love for music in my home. My mom was just big into art in general. She loves all things art, and my dad is a guitarist. He played in like covers bands all throughout my childhood, and so music was really like just a vibrant thing in my home. And my brother is 11 years older than me, and so when I was like about 10, he was starting releasing music as a solo artist as well. So I kind of grew up in an environment where a lot of people around me and my uncles and nephews were in bands as well. Like I had a lot of people around me that were making music and creating music and doing it a lot by themselves as well, like recording at home and like finding ways to record not only in a studio or like there was a lot of like that DIY feel, that punk feel. My brother's a um big was big in the Icelandic punk scene back then as well. So there was a lot of like that, like you can do everything on your own type of spirit from a very early on. So like eventually when I started working summer jobs and I got my own money, I started buying my own like recording gear and started recording demos at like 12, 13. So yeah, I was very fortunate to get that in front of me and be aware of all of that, like that was possible so early on, you know.
So, I mean, obviously, you've just mentioned Jimmy Eat World there as stuff that you was listening to in your formative years. But would your time be split listening to both bands from the States and the UK as well as Icelandic music?
I didn't listen to a lot of Icelandic music. There was something in me that always looked outside of Iceland, and the Icelandic music that was in the radio or like popular, or even the ones that were like a little bit more punk. I don't know what it was, but I like really early on, I wasn't as excited about it. That it just felt too like it wasn't as big or exciting in my head, even if the quality was good, like amazing bands. But there was something about when you were, and there was not a lot of bands other than like Björk or Sigurós that were singing in English that I was aware of back then. Most of it was in Icelandic, and I really wasn't excited about anything being sung in Icelandic. So I think that played a big part in kind of how I started, writing music in English very early.
Axel, tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school, please.
Yeah, that's a song um, called "Sleeping In" by the Postal Service. I remember driving with my sister, or my sister was driving the car, and we were listening to that record by the Postal Service, and that was it's just one of like the most nostalgic records for me. Um, yeah.
It's a beautiful record.
Yeah.
Did did you know what you wanted to be when you was at school? Was music always the art, the focus, or
Yeah, it was kind of my only identity in a way. Like there were people in my class playing football, and then there were uh people doing like playing video games, but I was always the one making music at home, and I got my friends to be on my records, and I was like creating lots of different bands in school, both in elementary and in uni. We had lots of different bands and different projects. So music was always like the thing that I was doing all the time, but I never had a clue that it would be possible to do it for a living. Like it was just an outlet, like a really important outlet for me, like just to through my overthinking and depression and uni, and kind of just yeah. So music was the only thing that kind of got me through it all, as cliche as that it is. But yeah, always knew that, yeah, never knew that it would become my life in a way.
so can you sort of paint a little picture of what that sort of band scenes like when you start playing gigs in Iceland, because for us in the UK, it's pretty much, I guess, living so close to London, it's very small, dirty, dingy venues, and three aspiring bands all trying to kind of get noticed, making a glorious racket. Um, what I mean, to paint a picture really about the sort of the scene in was it Reykjavik that you was playing most of your stuff?
The beginning was in Husavik,
Oh, okay.
in where I grew up, and Akureyri is a town an hour from Husavik, where I was in university. So and even like yeah, so in the north we don't have a lot of venues. We have like the venues that all the bands that come to the north to play, they play in those two, three venues. But when you're younger, you don't really go into like proper venues that sell alcohol and ticket the concerts and all that. So but in a way, we had a lot of open-minded people that were kind of creating venues here and there, and we just used people like we had it was like a social club house. I don't know what you call it for like young adults. We had concerts in those, and then we had the school had like a gym, and we had concerts there. So we kind of created our own venues to be able to play here and there. And we had like graduation events, and then we had like summer holiday events, and then annual parties that we were kind of able to put our band in and like, can we play two shows here? Can we play here? Just to kind of exercise this and be able to play it. And I had a lot of people in my family that also kind of helped that because the communities are so small. So like eventually you're just, yeah, you want to play a concert and then a lot of people are willing to help. And in Akureyri, it was even more like there were communities of people putting at concerts here and there, and they were just trying to get uh, just housing for venues that were not really venues, but they became venues because young people started hanging out there. And so it was a lot of that in the north when I was there.
Fantastic. Tell me the first song you remember buying from a record shop.
Yeah, that was Feeling a Moment by the band Feeder. And yeah, I remember like it was there was a lot of like the records that I got as gifts that were like not as personal to me, but when I got to go to the record store with my own money, and like I remember there were a bunch of bands from the UK that I was obsessed with, and was one of them. Like I loved everything, and I bought the record that Feeling a Moment is on, and I don't remember the record is called that. Is the record called that? No, but there was like also like a DVD with a record process, and it was incredible. And I think they recorded part of it in um Rockfield. I don't
That's right.
remember perfectly right now,
Yeah,
but
you're right.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I got to record in Rockfield a few years ago, and it was crazy to me, having seen so many documentaries of albums recorded there as well. Yeah.
Have you seen the Rockfield documentary that was made about maybe 2 years ago? Where
No, I don't. No, I haven't seen
it's
that.
incredible that they obviously talk about the
Yeah,
history of the place and talk to all the people
yeah.
that work there and live there. Oh, it's amazing. Tell us and the listeners a little bit about what it's like to go and record at Rockfield. What a moment!
Yeah, we got about a week there. Got my band, two band members that have been playing with me live for a while. They're both from Holland, and we stayed all in separate rooms. My manager at the time was there. The producer, Ian Grimble, who produced my first record, he records there all the time. He's done so many records there, and he's incredible. And yeah, he got us a very special deal there, so we were able to go there for a week and record like drums and grand pianos. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. You can just feel the history of the like it's I mean it's obvious, of course, but like you can really feel the history in that place, and
Yeah.
it's there's nothing like it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Um, Tell me a little bit about the song that soundtracked. I mean, you're a young man. I imagine you still go out, but tell me the song that soundtracked your years clubbing.
Yeah, so like I've never actually gone like clubbing as most people have done. So my clubbing moments have probably been like self DJ'd and self kind of
Yeah,
created. And the song Garden by the artist Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaurs is one of those. Like I would say, like I had like this term indietronic. It was an electronic indie uh yeah, techno song. It's just really great, and I just remember always putting that on in like parties that I was putting on with my friends.
it's a cracking record that, and I think around that time there was so much interesting kind of crossover going on with kind of indie guitar pop and electronics. There was so much kind of lots of the kind of producers and remixers such as I suppose it was Sebastian and all the Boys Noise stuff was just kind of getting all of these great
Yeah.
indie bands and just making them bang on dance floors. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
I'm going to take you home for this track, and I'm going to ask you to tell me a favorite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Yeah, so at the moment, like it's hard to choose a favorite track, but it would always be a song by Suede because I'm a massive Suede fan, but most people are that I know. But the track Untitled 6 um, from their uh, Bow Untitled record, White album.
Yeah,
It's just, this song was on my I remember like my teenage years playlists forever. Like I had like these kind of sleepy playlists, and this song is just so special, and I it just takes me back to those times like immediately with the first note. Love that song so much.
I mean, Harry, like as somebody that lives in the UK and our knowledge of, I guess, big commercial Icelandic music probably starts with the Sugar Cubes, goes to Bjork, and ends with Sigur Rós. Like,
Mm.
can you sort of explain a little bit about how much does the work of them artists kind of hang over Iceland and influence and I guess find their way into the very fabric of Icelandic music, if at all.
Yeah, I think they have kind of paved the way for people that wanted to look outside of Iceland. So we always kind of look like it's yeah, like I have always looked up to those artists so much, but I remember when they were getting noticed from the world, Iceland's um I would say their reaction to it was like, of course, to begin with making fun of them because they were like a little bit out there, making a little bit more like artistic music to what their norm was in Iceland, and they were getting a lot of attention for it. So a lot of people were like making fun of Björk and making fun of Sirius from the nicest place possible. Like they were not trying to destroy them in any manner. But I remember growing up to like if you would listen to those bands because I'm from a small town that maybe gets the like that sees more like the media of making fun of them than actually listening to their music, and I didn't know a lot of people that actually listened to their music. So I remember like when I got to 13 or 14 and I started listening to those bands, and I was like, hold on, like I don't understand why it was so weird to listen to those bands because it's absolutely amazing music and I loved everything about it. And it was just so special to kind of get to know this, like, oh yeah, you have to, of course you have to make fun of the thing that is like going really well and doing really good, but that's Iceland for you. Every time, like when Alfmans was a man started getting really popular as well, everybody got like made fun of the hey clapping thing that they were playing with, and like so you know it's just what people do, especially from little places, I think like But I remember that, and then now there's nothing but respect. Like nobody does that anymore, of course. And they are just like kind of a household name that paved the way for artists that want to go anywhere but Iceland. And for me, it's kind of in the legendary books at this point. It feels to me as legendary as looking at, AC/DC for the rock world or anything. It's just it's yeah.
For the last track, Axel, I'm going to ask you to tell me a song that you think many of our listeners may not know that you would like them to go and listen to.
Of course, for this one, I picked a song by a very dear friend of mine because he is one of my favorite musicians. His name is Jonas David, and he's from Germany. And I've been lucky enough to get him to play with me in my project as well. But that's a song called "Would You Plus I," by Jonas David. And this song is just, it hits my heart every time I listen to it. The record that this song is on is so close to me, and I got to know Jonas through his music. We were playing at the same festival, so we started just connecting there. But I love this record so much, and I adopted him as a friend just through this record. I was obsessed with him and didn't stop texting him because of it. So yeah, I hope people will listen. But
We make it very easy for them to listen, Axel, because we put together a Spotify playlist to accompany the podcast, so people can go and listen to all of the tracks that we've spoken about today, and more importantly, get to listen to your music as well. So let's talk about your music. Tell me what's happening.
Yeah, I just released my sophomore record about a week ago, and it's called Away from This Dream. And I worked on it with producers from the UK, producers I've worked with numerous times before as well, but never worked on a full record with them. They call themselves My Riot, and they are probably mostly famous for their work with the band London Grammar, done numerous of things with them, including the first record. And I put their names on a list like years and years ago as like dream producers. And it's been kind of my dream for about 5-6 years to make this record with them. So I'm so happy that we did, and it was everything I dreamt of. And yeah, I'm so happy that it's out, and I can tell people to listen to it.
Fantastic. And will there be tour dates?
I'm coming back to the UK in July. I'm playing in London and Brighton and Gloucester. Is that how you say it? 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of July.
Whereabouts are you playing in London?
Yeah, I should have prepared that.
I put you on the spot now, haven't I?
It's so you'll find it. I should know. I'm just so bad with venue names, especially when they're not right on. Like, it's coming. It's coming. It's called West Hampstead Arts Club.
Oh, wonderful! Wonderful. That's great there. And why you got them dates up? Where are you playing in Brighton?
Playing the folklore rooms on 1st of July in Brighton.
Oh, that's amazing there as well. If people want to find out about other tour dates, future releases, and everything that you're doing, where's the best place to follow you and keep up to speed?
All of it is on my website, axelfloventmusic.com, but I am also try to be active on social media, talking about all these things. So if they want to follow me on Instagram, that's where I post the most.
Fantastic. Well, if it's okay with you, we'll tag you on the post when this episode drops. So if people aren't following you already, then they can do so. Axel, it's been absolutely delightful talking records with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.